Yo, check it. This is Duelist of Awesome coming at you with the $30 or $40, $50, or $60, depending on where you are, budget deck profile. Basically, buy 3 copies of the structured deck and you're good to go. Deck profile for the new Blue Eyes White Destiny structure deck. All right, this is a really fun deck. Really easy to build, and with the reprints and hand traps, this is probably the best deck that you could buy in terms of value. And if you're a beginner, it's also amazing. All right, let's get into the deck profile. With it being the Blue Eyes deck, you're obviously going to need 3 copies of the Blue Eyes White Dragon. I think it's hard to make a choice between the 3 artworks, so if you do one of each, you get your best value. This is your normal monster for the deck, level 8. It has all the synergy it needs because it's obviously the main focus. Going into your new tuner monster, 3 copies of Maiden of White. This is a retrain of Maiden with Eyes of Blue, made better. So Maiden of White can send herself from the hand or the field and place 1 True Light on your field. And when a Blue Eyes White Dragon is summoned, you can essentially summon her back from the graveyard for free. So that is a really good combo extender there. Next up, the best starter in the entire deck. 3 copies of Sage with Eyes of Blue. Sage with Eyes of Blue is really good because it has a discard ability. It can be special summoned super easily. It can search. And it's also valuable as a normal summon. This card cannot be beat, and it will always, for the foreseeable future, be played at 3 copies in every Blue Eyes deck. All right, for the last of your 3-ups, 3 copies of Neo Kaiser Seahorse. This card is so good. First and foremost, it can special summon. All right, you can target 1 light tuner monster you control and increase or decrease its level by 1. So because your Ultimate Spirit Dragon needs 2 tuners, you can use this, decrease its own level by 1, so it's now 3, and then any of your other level 1 light tuners plus a Blue Eyes will make your Ultimate Spirit Dragon, which is really nice. So basically, Kaiser Seahorse enables that. I think it's entirely appropriate to play 3 copies of this card, and with its synergy with the deck also being now a dragon and a tuner itself, you cannot beat it. All right, next on the list is actually one of my favorite cards in this deck. Not new, that's okay. Dictator of D. I played this at 2 copies. So with Dictator of D, this card special summons super easily. Also, he has an effect where you get to target the cards that your opponent attacks with. So you essentially get to play the game for your opponent. Also, when you special summon him, you can basically send a Blue Eyes White Dragon from the field, from the hand or the graveyard, or from the field or hand to the graveyard. And then when he is summoned, you can then special summon that Blue Eyes right back out. That is a great effect. It's got a lot of synergy for special summoning, building up your board. So next up, I play 1 copy of Blue Eyes Jet Dragon. This card has so much recurrence, you're never going to need more than 1 copy. He's obviously very searchable, and he can bounce a card back to the hand. Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon. Some people opt to not play this at all. I like this card because if you reveal Blue Eyes, you get to summon him for free. And he has this destruction effect that's really good. I think, and plus having another level 8 monster, all in all, it just adds to the consistency of the deck, and I think there's no reason why you shouldn't play this card. Next up is Blue Eyes Abyss Dragon. This card is great. Obviously, being searchable, you really only need to play it at 1. When he is special summoned, you can add 1 ritual spell or polymerization. So this card can search Chaos Form, which is really good. He also has an effect from the graveyard where you can make all your level 8 dragons, gain 1,000 attack. It's really busted. He does a lot of good stuff for you. He can also, at the end of the turn, during the end phase, add a level 8 dragon monster from your deck to your hand. So he recurs resources for you and searches Chaos Form, which helps get out your 1 copy of Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon. Sometimes there's just cards that you can't get over. So what better way to answer it then with a Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon, that can't be targeted by card effects or destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So it can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects. And if it attacks a defense position monster, it inflicts double piercing damage. With 4,000 attack, that's obviously insane. So this is an answer which its resources are searchable. You can search any Blue Eyes, easy as hell. And Abyss Dragon will search the Chaos form for you. So with these 4 cards, I think these one-ofs are great to have in the deck. And you can search them depending on the scenario you're in. It's all situational, but you have the options, and you're never going to be in a position where you can't get these cards when you need them. So last on the list for your monsters is just some hand traps. Standard hand traps. Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring is in the structure deck, so obviously you're going to play 3 copies of that. Stopping your opponent from searching, special summoning from the deck, or sending to the graveyard from the deck. And that obviously happens a lot. Effect Veiler, we're also going to play this at 3 copies. This card is also a level 1 light tuner, which means it is also searchable off the effects of your tuner monsters in this deck, which you have quite a lot of. And then last up, just 2, Nibiru the Primal Being. I don't see playing 3 copies of this necessary, because if your opponent doesn't have a deck that plays 5 monsters in a turn, this becomes a dead card. But these hand traps are good. They're going to keep you safe and keep your opponent down on their luck so you can continue to make all the baller plays you're going to make on your next turn. All right, so getting into it with the spells. We've got 3 copies of Wishes for Eyes of Blue. This card is an amazing searcher. Being able to discard 1 card and add 1 level 1 light tuner and 1 spell or trap that mentions a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your deck to your hand. This card searches 2 pieces of resource, 2 materials, any that you need. You're going to get a spell card, and you're going to get a monster, spell or trap, and a monster. And this card can also banish from the graveyard. And when it does that, it will equip a fusion monster from your extra deck to a Blue Eyes that you control, and it'll gain 400 attack. With that search, we also have the new Roar of the Blue-Eyed Dragons. I played this card at 2. I don't think it's necessary to play at 3. So with this card, it essentially has synergy with, well, first, special summoning of Blue Eyes from the deck or the graveyard, or the banishment pile. But also, this card does something very valuable for the deck. That effect being, when this card is in the graveyard, you can banish it and fusion summon a fusion monster from the extra deck. Now, if you do it on the turn that this was sent to the graveyard, it will be locked into dragon monsters only. However, only having dragon monsters in your extra deck, because that's how the structure deck is made, means that that is never going to be an issue for you. With Roar of the Blue-Eyed Dragons being able to fusion summon, it means that you don't have to play more than 1 copy of your ultimate fusion, which is the in-archetype polymerization for Blue Eyes, allowing you to fusion summon into your monsters from the extra deck, typically your fusion monsters, obviously. You can use whichever cards you want. I'm going to show you which ones I use in my list. This will fusion summon them out. This will as well. All right, now for my one-of spells. Mausoleum of White. This card allows you an additional normal summon of 1 level 1 light tuner, and it just helps extend your combos. The Melody of Awakening Dragon. Discard material, and you can add 2 dragon monsters with 3,000 or more attack and 2,500 or less defense from your deck to your hand. So if you have this card and your opponent has a card on the field that you're trying to destroy and nothing more, you can activate the Melody of Awakening Dragon, add 1 Blue Eyes and the alternative dragon in your deck, and you'll have an answer immediately. And last up, Chaos form, simply to bring your Chaos Max Dragon out to the field. And the last spell card in the deck, Called by the Grave, to make sure that your hand traps go through and you're not having your plays negated. Another reason why I think that playing Chaos Max is such a good idea is because you can also bring it out with Majesty of the White Dragons. So this card has a mass destruction effect. If you reveal up to 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons in your hand, face up on the monster zone or in the graveyard, you can destroy that many cards on your opponent's field. However, this card can also ritual summon one ritual monster from your hand. And all that'll do, all that is necessary is you don't need Chaos Form in that scenario. You bring out your Chaos Max Dragon by tributing a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand or field, whose total levels equal the level of the Chaos Max Dragon, which will be 8, which means you will have everything necessary. You also will be playing True Light. Now, True Light is a great trap card in the deck, but with its downsides, you should not play more than one in my personal opinion. This card is very simple. It lets you special summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand or graveyard once per turn, or set one spell or trap from the deck that mentions Blue Eyes White Dragon. Its downside is, if this card is destroyed, it will destroy all monsters on your field. Keeping that downside in mind, with the addition that the Maiden of White can search this card directly from the deck, place it, and make it playable the same turn, one copy is all you're ever going to need. And the last up for your main deck is 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, another hand trap. So you're rolling with 11 hand traps in this deck profile. So you are plenty ready to stop your opponent in their tracks. This one's great. It can activate from the hand or be placed on the field. If it's placed on the field, you can negate spell and traps in the same column as this. But other than that, it just activates by negating a monster's effect. This card is also not once per turn, so if you have 3 copies, you can play it 3 times. It's a great card. I recommend always playing Infinite Impermanence if you have room for hand traps. That and Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. It's great for the main deck. But let's get on to the extra deck. Starting with the extra deck, we're going to do the Link monsters. 3 copies of Spirit with Eyes of Blue. This is the new Link 1 monster in the structure deck. Any monster, whether it be a level 4 or lower dragon or a spellcaster monster, is all it takes to bring this card out. When you bring this card out, it can search Mausoleum. Simple as that. And an additional plus is that you contribute this card to special summon a Blue Eyes monster from your hand or graveyard, which means this card will, because it's so weak, you would think that it would be a problem, but it will. Come on out, search your Mausoleum, then leave the field to bring out a bigger Blue Eyes monster. This card is great, and I would say in this profile, there is no questioning that this card is a 3 of. And last up for your Link monsters, 1 Hieratic Seal of Heavenly Spheres. This card has a great bounce back ability for the cost of a discard, and if it is tributed, whether that be by effect or tribute summon, so long as it says tribute, you can special summon a dragon monster from your hand or deck. That's any dragon monster. It does not say ignoring its summoning conditions, so alternative won't be an option. But most of the rest will. For your fusion monsters, I'm going to play 2 copies of Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon. The reason we're playing 2 copies is because it's extremely easy to get out. And it being easy to get out means it's going to have better plays. It has a lot of attack. And it can set a spell or a trap as well. The card I will typically equip to it through the effects of the new cards is Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. That's the card I choose to equip to this. However, if you get this card out, it also has great attacks. Mini attacks, great strength, 4,500, obviously. And then for the last of the fusions, I'm opting to play Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon. I think this card having 2 attacks, 3,000 attack points, and not being able to be destroyed by battle means that it's a great asset for the deck. Now on to the Synchro monsters. You're playing 3 copies of Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. With Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, it has a great negation effect, and it has a float ability where it can float into other Synchro monsters. This card is really good, and most of your inboards are going to end with Spirit Dragon on the field. The cards that it can float into are Azure Eyes Silver Dragon. This card is a nice one of in the deck, and has a protection ability and a special summon ability, so it can protect your monsters. They cannot be targeted by effects, or he can just summon out a Blue Eyes from the graveyard if that's what you want to do instead. It can also float into the brand new Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon. This card is basically, how do I put this? It's kind of like a Called by the Grave, but inverse. So here's what I mean. Essentially, your opponent cannot banish your cards, period, from the graveyard. Which means if you activate Ash Blossom, Joy Spring, Effect Veiler, Nibiru, Infinite Impermanence, whatever, you discard a card. Your hand traps are not going to be stopped because they cannot use their called by to banish your card. Ultimate Spirit Dragon also has a quick effect negation, and if he successfully negates the activation of that effect, he will gain 1,000 attack. That is till the end of the turn. It does not stay, but that puts him up to 4,500. He's already a very strong card. This card will require 1 non-tuner and 2 tuners. So that's where your Neo Kaiser Seahorse comes into play to lower his level by 1, allowing room for another level 1 light tuner to make your Ultimate Spirit Dragon. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon 1 light dragon monster from your graveyard, except this card. So when he dies, he brings someone back out, so you are not left with nothing. And last but not least, 1 Indigo Eyes Silver Dragon. Indigo Eyes Silver Dragon negates all effects on your opponent's field when it is XZ summoned. Also, he cannot attack directly unless he's got a normal monster as one of his materials. That's not a problem. You more than likely will. Also, you can target 1 normal monster in your graveyard or your banishment and special summon it, and if you do, it gains 1,000 attack. That is your detached material effect for the XYZ monster. Alright guys, that does it for the budget deck profile for Blue Eyes White Destiny structure deck. This is going to clock in from 30 minimum to 60 maximum. Alright, it's selling at different prices than usual structure decks do. Has a lot of people in an upset, but all in all, I gotta say, it is worth the price. With all the reprints, the playability of this deck, picking up 3 copies of this deck, and going to a tournament, you genuinely have a good chance. This is an insane and unbeatable deck as far as I believe. The competitive structure deck profile will be coming soon. 3 copies, plus all the cards I'm going to put in. I'll give you the prices. I'll let you guys know everything. It's going to be very fun and exciting. Also, look out for the new Cyber Dragon deck profile coming out. I've got Clockwork Knight. It's on the way. With that being said, guys, this has been Duels of Awesome. I bid you guys farewell. Peace, peace. Chicken grease. Twisms.